Kingsway West is an alternate history tale with magic, gunslinging, and Wild West action. Let's take a look. What's up, everybody? I'm Stan, and welcome to Detail Comics, where we go over comics in detail. This is going to be an iRate review about Kingsway West, which is a new book from Greg Pak and being published by Dark Horse. So this is an alternate history tale where we're going to be getting involved in all kinds of magical and mystical things, including things like dragons, sorcery, but we're going to mix it with alternate history versions of the United States. So there's going to be the Chinese have kind of come into California, which was never part of the United States. The Mexicans have moved up into that southern area, and then the Indian city-states are moving their way east to west. So this is going to be a really interesting kind of take. To start off with, we have Kingsway Law, who's introduced as, being a let's say a rebel, but he's wanted by the Golden City and the Queen that rules over there with kind of like a, golden fist. There's no real better way to put that. And he's being hunted down, and there's a bounty on his head. And he's rescued by this woman, Sonia. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of time jump ahead another 5 years where Sonia's become Kingsway Law's wife, and they're living outside the grid. They're out in the wild, a specific place on the map called the Wild. The problem is, this woman comes looking for Kingsway Law to try to assist him in some manner, and he really shrugs her off, kind of hides his identity, and this leads to a lot of trouble for Law and Sonia. And what we kind of do is pick up at the end of the book where, there's a mission to be had, and it's nothing but trouble for Kingsway Law at this point in time. The writing in issue 1 is great because it's going to get a sense of where you're at and then give you a through line that we're going to be following through the next books. Not necessarily in a particular story arc, but Greg Pak does a really good job fleshing out a little bit of this world and giving you enough backstory so that way you want to know more. And ultimately there's the introduction of a material called Red Gold that's very interesting, and it's going to be integral to the plot, so he does a very good job with that. As for the art is it's a style specific to this particular book. Overall, it's very competent, it's very clean, and then there are some very great fantastical elements that I really enjoy. The mix of Wild West with magical mysticism kind of things is really brought out with the coloring and the kind of weirdness of this wild. The weirdness of a world that has had red gold kind of permeate through the ground is very interesting. You've got these barefoot kind of creatures, and there's a bunch of different changes to various vegetation pieces, and it really does, the art does a great job building that world around it. After issue 1, we move on to issue 2, where we see that the conflict has become considerably more cemented for Kingsway Law, and he's basically found himself in a whole heck of a lot of trouble. But what this really does in the narrative sense, the storytelling, brings out more of Kingsway Law's backstory, what he's done to the Mexicans, what he's done in the name of war, in the name of the Queen that he's currently on the run from and that has a bounty on his head. Also, we see the introduction of our scout character, which was teased in the first book, and she comes in and her motivations are extremely clear. She has almost no loyalty to the people that she's serving because she's been essentially rewired to need this particular mystical characteristic, and I'm sure you guys can pretty much guess what it is, but if you have an understanding of where she's at, this is kind of like an addiction. This is an addiction kind of metaphor that's being presented with this particular person. She's willing to go like, hey, I don't need you to, point my people in that general direction. I just need you to take me to the mine so that way I can get what I need to keep what I love, what I need to continue existing the way that I want to. And this brings about another way for Kingsway Law to just prove that he is an absolute badass gunman. And again, we're following the crumbs, we're following the trail along, and the art is still extremely complimentary to the way that the story's going. I'm really a fan of how he's blending these two worlds, and I'm definitely going to keep reading for the near future, simply because I want to see how much he can spread, how much this world can kind of blossom in front of me, and the art is just going to bring that to another level, whether it's the violence or it's the actual fantastical visions of this magical, mystical, modern Wild West gunslinging world. Definitely a book that I recommend picking up. I do want to say that I had a lot of trouble getting issue number 2 because my comic book shop didn't order any. So this is another reason for you guys to, swing into your local comic shop and let them know that there's something that you want to pick up. So that's my review of Kingsway West, issue 1 and 2. So I want to know what you guys think about this book and if it's something that you're thinking about picking up now, or if you have some more questions that I can answer for you in the comments. As always, if you like what you see, hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe right down there to get more news, reviews, and commentary on comic books, comic book movies, comic book TV shows and games, and anything and everything inside the world of comics.